My 360 mindset.
Yes.
I've read a little bit about it. To get anyone, regardless, athlete, banker, anyone, to change that mindset, how difficult is it for them to start trusting a process that's going to make it right?
Very difficult. Talk is cheap in our work, and we do need to see the results. But it's all through the skill building and the process and the team building where you can actually see others that have succeeded in this way that get us curious and driven to learn more, to try to embrace the new approach to training so that you can get that one up.
Yeah. Now, the concept, where did it come from?
So I actually was a goalkeeper for football and when I was coming up, and I was very talented, but I was not a biggest fan of that position. I did not like all the pressure, and unfortunately it led me to a shortened career. Quit pretty early on in college, unable to balance the academics and the sports. And so what we started to realize was you can be the best physically trained, you can get your sleep in order, your nutrition, and one thing can just make that all crumble. That's not okay. And so we decided that we're getting everything except for that last piece, the whole 360 element of just mental wellness and just performance mindset. And so when we started to incorporate this as an additional component of training, almost a supplement of training, people recognize the benefits of just taking care of the mental, physical, and social.
Yeah. Now, you've had quite a few sessions since you've been in Bermuda. One of the sessions obviously is with coaches and parents. Are you giving them things like telltale signs when the athlete is not in the right mental space?
Yes.
And you know, small things?
Great question. That's exactly what the goal is here today. We want this to be more than just information, but also application. And so I'm going to use an example of what we're talking about with the cold, hot, and just right zones. This has to do with stress and the way that the stress can affect your performance. Everyone thinks stress is very bad, but you need a little bit of it or else you're in that cold zone. Mm-hmm. So some of the telltale signs that I'll tell coaches and parents about their athletes being in the cold zone, we goofing around, just being a little too lackadaisical, like just not feeling it. Maybe we need to pump them up a little bit more and get them into that zone. Mm-hmm. Some telltale signs though of the hot zone that get very confusing for coaches and parents. Maybe head down, quiet, isolating. A lot of coaches and parents think they're locked in. They're ready. When inside, they might appear calm and cool on the outside like a duck on a pond, but underneath those feet are flapping a mile a minute and they're just having that energy inside that is making them shut down. And they're trying everything they can do to take control of it, but they're suffering in silence.
Right.
And there's no way to go about that.
Right. Now, talking with especially young athletes, teaching them or helping them to understand a way to communicate that things are not right. How do you manage that part so they feel comfortable in going to mom and dad or coach to make sure that they then get that straight?
We always try to build self-worth for them. We know that they need to be able to have a safety net at first to be able to start taking those chances. I use the analogy of a trapeze artist, those swings in the circus. That would you ever try that if you didn't have a safety net for your first time?
No.
Because what's going to happen if you fall? And so the people, even if they don't have a safety net, are tensing. They're not trying the flips and things. And I find that unfortunately our athletes live their lives like this. That it's just all or nothing, all in. And so going to a coach with that kind of pressure and saying that things might not be all perfect, that brain will just make them picture the worst case scenario, and that's where the avoidance comes in. And unfortunately, when you struggle with that self-worth, that knowing you can handle whatever's thrown at you, that if a coach is disappointed with you, they'll still be there to support you, or a caregiver might be disappointed, but still there to support, that you're just going to be having that fear and that push to avoiding it and keeping it within. But again, talk is cheap. And so once you start to see athletes name their worth, I know what I deserve, I know what I'm capable of, and I know that I can overcome this failure and survive it and then come back stronger, they start to feel more confident about speaking that out into the universe. There's a great saying from Conor McGregor, if you have the courage to see it and speak it, it'll happen. And so when you start to have athletes know their worth and know that bringing up something that may be a struggle, just like a skill in soccer, hey coach, I'm not really hitting the ball with my left the way I would like, what do we do? Once you get that reward and that skill is addressed, that does such an impact on our habits and the proof and the talk is cheap, but now we have results, and those athletes are much more likely to continue to speak about their worth, speak up for their boundaries and what they're looking for, and when that gets met, that gets reinforced.
Yeah. Now, recently I watched the NFL draft.
Yes, yes.
Several players had thought they would have gone in the first round.
Yeah, Will Levis.
Yeah, did not. The look on his face was of pure disappointment. And you could tell the next day he was really stressed out.
Yep.
What advice would you have for someone who's going through, and we have young people going through exams, still trying to do sports, and they're going to face those challenges of trying to balance. Now, exams are very important. School, yes, it is important, but exams are even more pressure. So how would you advise them to address that part of life?
It's another great question. I would always encourage them to just remember their goal. I have a hard time believing that Will Levis's goal was to go number 2, because he wasn't even projected to go there before the draft started,
right.
And then they started pumping him up. So he probably didn't even have that goal for himself, and unfortunately, just like any human would, might have let themselves go more towards their higher expectations and raising to what we call the ceiling goal, where I'm guessing his floor goal was make the NFL.
Right.
And when you start to view those goals as the most important stepping stones towards that top one, you start to get the buy-in towards expectation setting. We cannot just shoot for the moon and miss and land on the stars. We tend to come crashing back down to earth and never want to do that again. So why not build a staircase to the moon and trust that you're going to get there? And every time you make that climb and get there, it just makes it that much easier next time.
Give us a sense of, for any parent or coach that didn't take part in this but going to see this, how does one get in touch with you to get advice or to seek some help regarding their young one or even an older one who's going through a tough time in sport and in life?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I would be happy to just provide more detail on how to reach us, but I would always encourage anyone to always reach out to our incredible organizer, the 5 Rings, Jenny Smatt. She can always just connect us and get us back down here, or connect through virtual and Zoom sessions. So please reach out to Jenny Smatt and get in contact with us at Impact and My 360 Mindset, and we would be happy to continue our work in this incredible environment. You all have been so welcoming, and I really appreciate it.
Gotta ask, the 5 Rings, Olympics?
Yeah, Olympic swimmer.
Okay. So you went from...
Oh, sorry, that was Jenny.
Oh, right, Jenny. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, definitely. All right, well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you coming down and helping our coaches, our parents, our athletes to kind of find a path, find their way, find their voice. Yeah.
It's been an absolute pleasure. This has just been such a welcomed experience, and I cannot just thank the island and the community enough for just embracing me with open arms. So thank you so much for this opportunity as well.
Thank you.